Okay, I want to tell you something that the people in charge don't want you to fully understand. Not because it's a secret or not because it's hidden, but because a person who truly understands this truth becomes very difficult to control. The truth is, nobody's coming to save you. Not the government, not FEMA, not your local emergency management office, not the supply chain, not the grid, not the institutions that you spent your whole life being told are there for you. When things go wrong, really wrong, you're on your own. Now, before you turn this off, before you decide it's too dark or it's too much, I need you to stay with me because the truth I just told you is the most liberating thing I've ever believed. And by the end of this video, I think you're going to feel the same way. Okay, so let me give you some real examples. Not to scare you, but to ground you into what's really the truth. Hurricane Katrina, 2005, one of the most devastating storms to ever hit the continental United States. New Orleans flooded, and for days, not hours, days, tens of thousands of Americans sat on rooftops and in shelters with no food, no water, no information, and no help coming. The most powerful government on earth, the most wealthiest nation in the history of the world, and people sat on rooftops for days. The Texas winter storm in 2021, the entire state was without electricity. Pipes froze, people died of hypothermia in their own home. Millions went without power for days in below zero temperatures. A state with 30 million people and all the modern infrastructure, and people were melting snow over a fire so they could flush their toilet. And let's not forget the great toilet paper apocalypse of 2020, the supply chain, the vast, supposedly unbreakable global supply chain that was supposed to make scarcity almost impossible, buckled in 72 hours. All the shelves were bare, and the official narrative was telling you to stay home and wait. I'm not telling you these things to scare you. I'm telling you because they're true. And I think deep down, you know they're true in some way. That quiet feeling, that net that you've been told is underneath you to catch you, people are starting to realize that net isn't there. That feeling, it's not paranoia. It's pattern recognition. And the people who acted on that feeling, who stopped waiting for the system to protect them and started protecting themselves, those are the people who came through every single one of those events in the best shape. Not the wealthiest people, not the most connected people, the most prepared people. There's a lesson here that's so obvious it's almost painful to say it out loud. The system isn't designed to save you. It's designed to manage you. It's designed to keep things functioning and manageable so that most people, most of the time, feel like everything's okay. But when the extreme cases come, and hey, they always come, you're the variable that got cut from the equation. That means the only person who is ever going to be responsible for you and your family's safety was already, ever, only going to be you. And now I want to take you somewhere. Not far, just back. The people who built this region, the Ohio Valley, the hills of West Virginia, the hollows of eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania, the river towns of Kentucky, the people who came here, the people who cleared this land, built these towns and raised their family in terrain that, well, didn't make anything easy. They operated from a single baseline assumption that almost nobody operates from today. The assumption was this: whatever happens, we handle it. Not the government, not some relief organization or some hotline. We handle it. Me, myself, my family, my neighbors, we handle it. A drought came through and the crops failed, they handled it because they've stored enough up through the good seasons to get themselves through the bad ones. A harsh winter came through and cut them off, they handled it because they'd put back enough food and enough wood and enough skills to keep their family safe during the cold. A neighbor's barn burned down, they handled it because that's what a community of capable, prepared people do. They show up, they rebuild, and they carry each other. None of these people were waiting for someone to come. The idea of sitting around waiting would have been generally incomprehensible to them. Not because they were tougher than us, and not because they were made of different stuff, because they understood something that comfort and convenience has slowly trained us to forget. Your life is your responsibility. Your family's life is your responsibility. Your community's resilience is your responsibility. Not partly, not mostly, completely. And here's the thing about responsibility. Nobody who's ever truly, really embraced it will argue with any of this. It doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like power. Okay, now I want to talk about what happens to a person the moment they decide to stop waiting. Because I've seen it. I've felt it myself. And it's one of the most striking transformations I know. When you're dependent on a system that you can't control, when your family's safety lies in the hands of a government agency or a supply chain or a grid, you carry a specific kind of anxiety. Now, most people don't even recognize it as anxiety anymore because it's been with them so long, it just feels like background noise, like a low hum of unease that never really goes away, a quiet dread about what would happen if things stop working. You know that feeling. The moment you start building your own foundation, you put back that first week's of food, that first case of water, that first real plan, that hum starts to fade away. Not all at once, but gradually. Each prep that gets made, each skill that gets learned, each small step towards your own self-sufficiency adds to it. And then one day, you realize something remarkable. You're not afraid anymore. Not of a power outage, not of a supply chain shock, not of an economic shock, not of the headlines that used to make your stomach turn. Because you look at all those scenarios and you've already made a plan for them. And now they're not unknowns anymore. They're just problems that you've already planned how to solve. And that's what nobody tells you about prepping. It's not about fear. It's the cure for fear. Every person that's ever called us paranoid, every person that's ever rolled their eyes at a bug out bag or an extra pantry or an emergency plan, they're living with that background hum of anxiety every single day. They just don't have a name for it. We don't have that hum anymore because we've done the work. We stopped waiting for somebody else to be responsible for what was always ours to handle. And in doing that and picking up the full weight of our own preparedness, we put down the anxiety about things that were never ours to control. That trade, that's the best trade I've ever made in my life. I want to end this with something that I feel very strongly about this every single year, more and more since I've started doing this. The preparedness community, the people who watch channels like this and others, who are quietly building their own supply chain and their skills and their plans while the rest of the world scrolls on by, are one of the most generous, most reliable, most community-focused people I've ever met. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Because when you've taken care of your own family's needs and you're not scrambling and desperate and in a panic, you have capacity. Capacity to help, capacity to share, capacity to be the one calm person in the room when everybody else is panicking. So I've heard story after story in this community from different people that when the power went out and the storm came and the floods rolled through, became the one resource their entire neighborhood turned to. Not because they were rich, and not because they were special, because they were ready. And that's the other thing nobody tells you about prepping. It's not selfish. It's the exact opposite of selfish. A person who has 6 months of food stored is a person who can share with their neighbor in need without putting their own family at risk. A person who knows how to filter water can help an elderly neighbor who doesn't. The person with a working generator and a radio is going to be the person their whole neighborhood is grateful for when the grid goes down. Preparedness is generosity with a foundation underneath. When I think about what this community looks like, really looks like, across the Ohio Valley, West Virginia, Kentucky, and all the rural areas in this entire country, I see something that gives me genuine hope. I see people who've quietly, stubbornly refused to become dependent, who held on to the knowledge and the skills and the mindset that built this country in the first place, who show up for each other in a way that no government agency is ever going to be able to replicate. And that's not nothing. That's everything. Nobody's coming to save you. And you, the person watching this, the person who found this channel, the person who's building something real for the people they love, you stopped waiting a long time ago. That makes you exactly the kind of person this country was built by and exactly the kind of person it needs right now. So here's where I leave you today. Not with a checklist, not with a gear recommendation, not with a step-by-step action plan, just this. The next time somebody looks at you, looks at what you're building, and calls it paranoid, remember Katrina. Remember the ice storm in Texas. Remember the great toilet paper apocalypse. Remember every moment in human history when the system most people rely on showed its limits. And remember that you already knew. You already knew that the only foundation worth building on is the one you build yourself, with your own hands, for your own people. No one's coming to save you. You've already saved yourself. Stay ready. Stay free. We'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, all of our videos now are sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Emergency food, water filtration, solar generations, and more. Go check them out. Link down in the description. And if you use that link, yeah, we do make a few pennies, but helps us keep doing what we're doing. Thanks a lot, guys. Go check them out.